Once upon a time, there was a girl named Jessica. Jessica was 17. She had managed to finish secondary school, but life was still hard. In the day, she helped at a small food place. In the evening, she rode a little bicycle to deliver food. She was kind. She was stubborn. She was very smart about the streets. That night was very cold. Harmattan dust floated in the air like tiny powder. The wind was dry and it bit her lips. Far away, small generators hummed like sleepy bees. Streetlights blinked on and off. Jessica's bicycle squeaked, but she kept going. A warm delivery bag sat on her back. She whispered to herself, "One more delivery, one more night." Her phone buzzed. A message from her manager said, "Don't be late again. Last warning." Jessica's heart felt tight. If she was late, she could lose her job. If she lost her job, she could lose her small room. She needed money for rent. The landlord had warned her already. She took a deep breath and pedaled faster. Her jacket was thin. The air felt rough in her nose. Her hands, inside old, faded blue gloves, felt stiff on the handlebar. Still, she pushed on. Tap, tap, tap went the bicycle chain. Hum, hum, hum went the faraway generators. She was brave, but she was also tired. She turned into a quiet street. Then she saw a bus stop ahead. Under a weak light stood an old man. He wore thin clothes. His scarf hung loose. His hands shook as he held a small crumpled paper. He looked hungry. He looked cold. He looked lost. People walked past him quickly, heads down. No one stopped. No one asked, "Sir, are you okay?" The world moved on, like water running past a stone. Jessica slowed down. Her bicycle wobbled a little. She looked at the old man. She looked at her phone. Time was running. If she stopped, she might be late. If she was late, she might be sent away from her room. Inside her heart, two small voices began to speak. One voice said, "Ride on, Jessica. You must keep your job. You must pay rent." The other voice said, "Jessica, remember what Mama taught you. Help people who are alone and lost." Jessica held the handlebar tight. She felt the cold wind on her face. She felt the dust on her tongue. She felt the fear in her stomach. She whispered, "Please, not tonight." She looked away from the old man and began to pedal past him. 1, 2, 3 turns of the wheel. But her heart felt heavy. The picture of the old man stayed in her mind, shaking hands, thin coat, lonely eyes. She remembered her mother's gentle voice. "My child, if you see someone alone like that, you stop. It does not matter who they are." Jessica pressed her lips together. She squeezed the brakes. The bicycle made a soft cry. She turned her head. The old man was still there, small under the weak light, like a leaf in the cold. Jessica turned the bicycle around. She rode back slowly. She did not rush. She did not scare him. She stopped a little distance away and put one foot on the ground. The wind lifted the edge of her jacket. The light made a small circle around them. "Good evening, sir," she said in a calm, gentle voice. "Are you okay?" The old man blinked. His eyes were cloudy. His teeth shook a little. He tried to speak. The crumpled paper moved in his hand. The old man opened his mouth. His voice was thin and shaky. "I missed the last bus," he whispered. "Home. White gate. Roses. My name is John." Jessica's heart pulled tight. She looked at his hands. They were shaking. She looked at his coat. It was too thin for this cold night. "All right, sir," she said softly. "I will help you." Jessica took off her scarf. It was the only warm thing on her neck. She wrapped it gently around Mr. John's neck and tucked the ends under his chin. "Better?" she asked. He nodded a little. Jessica checked her small bicycle. The back rack was narrow, but it had carried boxes before. Tonight, it must carry a man who needed help. "I will go slowly," she said. "Please sit here and hold the sides." Mr. John moved carefully. Jessica held his arm so he would not fall. At last he sat small and light, like a tired bird. "Hold on tight," Jessica said again. She looked at her phone. Time was running. If she did this, her delivery would be late. She could lose her job. She could lose her little room. Her chest felt heavy, but her mother's words were louder than her fear. Help people who are alone and lost. Jessica took a deep breath. I choose to help, she whispered. She pushed the bicycle forward. The chain made a soft sound. The cold wind rose like a wall, but she leaned into it. Behind her, Mr. John murmured again, white gate, roses, John. I hear you, Jessica said. We will find it. The road was quiet. The air was dry and sharp. Dust touched their faces. Jessica's old gloves held the handlebar tight. Her legs began to burn, but she did not stop. The phone in her pocket buzzed. She did not look. She knew what it would say. Are you warm enough? She asked. A little, Mr. John said. His teeth clicked softly. He tried to smile. You are kind. Jessica did not answer. She just pedaled. One breath, one push, one more small piece of road. Inside her mind, she let go of the money she would not earn tonight. She let go of the bed she might lose. She held on to one thing only: do the right thing. And so the girl and the old man moved through the cold night, slow and steady, like two small lights that refused to go out. Jessica kept pedaling into the cold wind. Her legs felt heavy, her fingers were stiff inside her old gloves. The night was quiet, and the air was dry and sharp. Up ahead, she saw a small kiosk with a dim light. A woman stood inside with a flask. The sign said, hot drink. Jessica slowed down and stopped. Please, sir, she said, let me get you something warm. She parked the bicycle carefully so he would not fall. Then she reached into her pocket and counted her money. It was not much, just a few notes and coins from yesterday's delivery. It was all she had left. One small cup of hot tea, please, Jessica said. The woman poured from the flask. Steam rose like a soft cloud. Jessica held the cup with both hands. It felt good and warm. She turned to Mr. John. Here, sir. Mr. John looked at the cup as if it was a treasure. Then he pushed it gently back toward her. You first, he said in a calm, fatherly voice. You need strength to pedal. Jessica shook her head. No, sir, this is for you. Humor an old man, he said with a small smile. Jessica took a tiny sip. Ah, she hissed, laughing at herself. It's hot. Mr. John chuckled. Still too young to be careful. And you're too old to be freezing, she replied, smiling. They both laughed softly. For a moment, the cold felt a little less cruel. Jessica handed the cup to him. He wrapped his hands around it and took a slow sip. His shoulders relaxed. The scarf around his neck caught a bit of steam. His eyes looked softer, not so afraid. Thank you, he said. You are welcome, Jessica replied. They stood quietly beside the small kiosk. The world felt small, just the girl, the old man, the warm cup, and the bicycle waiting for them. After a moment, Mr. John spoke again. His voice was low, like a memory waking up. My wife loved roses, he said. She planted them by the gate, red ones, bright and happy. When the wind blew, the whole yard smelled sweet. Jessica listened with care. She did not rush him. She is gone now, he said gently. Long ago. I'm sorry, Jessica said. Her voice was soft. He nodded. He looked at her hands. My granddaughter used to wear blue gloves, he added. She always lost them. We would find one in the kitchen and the other in the yard. She laughed about it. Jessica looked at her own gloves, once blue, now faded and worn. She lifted her hands a little. Mine used to be blue too, she said. I keep losing them, then finding them again. Maybe they also like to play. Mr. John smiled. The smile was small, but it was real. You remind me of her, he said. Jessica felt her throat get tight in a gentle way. I talk to my mum sometimes, she said. It makes the silence less loud. Mr. John nodded slowly. Yes, he said. I talk to my wife too. They shared the last sips of the cocoa. Jessica made sure he had the bigger share. When the cup was empty, she handed it back to the woman at the kiosk with a thank you. Then she turned to Mr. John. Are you ready? She asked. He took a breath and nodded. Ready. Jessica helped him sit again on the back rack. She checked the scarf, tucked it closer under his chin, and made sure his hands held the sides. She wiped a little cocoa from the corner of his mouth with the edge of her sleeve. Then she took the handlebar and looked at the road ahead. "Hold on tight," she said. "I will," he answered. Jessica pushed off. The bicycle rolled back into the night. The air was still cold, but the warmth from the cocoa stayed in their chests. Mr. John hummed a soft tune, just a few notes, like a lullaby with no words. Jessica listened. The sound was steady and kind. She leaned forward and pedaled with new strength. One breath, one push, one more small piece of road. Her phone buzzed again in her pocket, but she did not check it. Her choice was made. "White gate," Mr. John murmured, as if guiding her from inside a dream. "Roses." "We will find it," Jessica said. They passed dark windows and quiet corners. The night felt less empty now. The cocoa had warmed their hands, and the memories had warmed their hearts. Jessica kept her eyes on the path, and Mr. John kept humming softly. Together, they moved like two small lights in a big night. At times, the bicycle shook on rough patches, but Jessica's hands were steady. When the wind pushed, she pushed back. When the road rose, she rose with it. Behind her, Mr. John did not complain. He only breathed, hummed, and held on. "Are you okay?" she asked once. "I am with a brave girl," he said. "So yes." Jessica smiled. She didn't say anything more. She didn't need to. They rode on. She kept pedaling. The road felt long. The night felt big. Mr. John hummed softly behind her. She listened and did not stop. Then at last they saw it. A white gate stood ahead. It was tall and clean. On the gate, a small rose was painted near the side. Just then, a motion light clicked on and washed the gate with pale light. Mr. John lifted his head. His face changed. The fear in his eyes became relief. "Yes," he whispered. "This is it. White gate. Roses." Jessica looked closer. The crumpled paper in his hand had a shaky note on it. "House with white gate and roses." On the wall there was also a small plate with his family name. It matched the name on the paper. That was how she knew. "You did well," Mr. John said softly. Jessica helped him down from the bike, holding his arm so he would not fall. He stood a little straighter now. She reached out and pressed the bell. The light over the door blinked again. Footsteps hurried from inside the compound. The door opened. A young man rushed out, calm face, neat clothes, quick eyes. "Mr. John," he cried. "Sir, where did you go? We were so worried." Mr. John smiled a little. "I went for a ride," he said with a small joke in his voice. The young man looked at Jessica and then back at Mr. John. His name was David. He was Mr. John's helper and driver. "Miss, thank you," David said, breathing fast. "Thank you for bringing him." Jessica shook her head. "I only wanted him to be safe." She tore a piece from an old receipt, found a pen in her bag, and wrote in clear letters, Jessica and her phone number. "In case he needs help again," she said, handing it to Mr. John. Mr. John took the paper like it was something precious. "Thank you, Jessica," he said. "You have done more than you know." "Please, come in and warm up," David said. "We have hot tea, you must be freezing." Jessica stepped back. She shook her head. "No, thank you. I have to go." She looked at Mr. John, checked that the scarf was still snug around his neck, and gave a small smile. "Good night, sir," she said. "Rest well." "Good night, brave girl," he replied. Jessica climbed onto her bicycle. She gave one last look at the white gate and the soft light. Then she turned and rode away into the quiet night. The road back felt colder. Her legs were tired, her hands hurt, but her heart felt calm. She had done the right thing. At last she reached her small place. It was very quiet, too quiet. No music, no soft talks, no window light. She rolled to a stop. On the ground by the door sat her few belongings in a plastic bag: 2 pairs of jeans, a thin towel, a worn charger, and her mother's photo in a little frame. Dust rested on the bag like powder. Jessica tried her key. It did not turn. A paper was taped to the door in big letters. "Rent late, lock changed." Jessica stood very still. The words felt heavy. She read them again and again as if they might change. They did not. Her chest hurt, not from the cold, from the loss. Her father had left when she was very small. He never came back. Her mother had worked hard, smiled softly, and taught her to be kind. Then a few years ago, her mother got sick and died. Since then, Jessica had taken care of herself. She worked, she saved, she tried. This little room was the only roof she had, and now, even that was gone. She picked up the plastic bag. The frame with her mother's photo showed a gentle face and warm eyes. Jessica touched the glass and whispered, "Mum, I tried." The wind pushed dust across her feet. The night felt bigger than before. She had no key, no bed, no job maybe, nowhere to sleep. Jessica took a slow breath. A small tear rolled down, but she wiped it quickly. "Keep moving," she told herself. "Just keep moving." She stood with her small bag on her shoulder and her bicycle by her side. The night felt wide and empty. Her phone began to ring. She looked at the screen. It was her manager. She answered in a small voice. "Hello? Where are you?" His voice was sharp. The customer called 3 times. "I'm sorry," Jessica said quickly. "I found an old man who was lost and I took him home. It was very cold, I couldn't just leave him." "You stopped for a stranger?" He cut in. "You are not paid to play hero, you are paid to deliver. Please, I will make up for it. I can work extra." "No," he said, flat and hard. "You're fired. Bring your uniform next week for your last pay." The line went silent. Jessica lowered the phone. The wind touched her cheek like a rough hand. For a moment she felt dizzy, as if the ground had moved. No job, no room, no plan. She hugged her small bag and looked down the dark street. Where could she go? The places she knew were closed. The places that were open were not safe. She thought of the bus station. She thought of a bench near the road. She thought of nothing and everything at once. Her mother's picture pressed against her side inside the bag. Jessica took a breath and told herself, "Keep moving." She climbed onto her bicycle and began to ride. The chain clicked softly. The wheels hissed on the dry ground. She went past one corner, then another, and another. Time stretched. Her legs ached, her eyes stung. Still she moved. At last, she saw a small light ahead, a mini-mart with a bright sign. The door was open. Inside, warm air and the smell of clean floor soap drifted out. A man with kind eyes stood behind the counter. Jessica stopped and pushed her bicycle to the side. She stepped in, cold air following her like a shadow. "Good evening, sir," she said, voice careful. "Please, can I just warm up for a little while? I can help clean. I can arrange shelves. I won't cause trouble." The man looked at her from head to toe. He saw the dust on her jacket, the tired eyes, the old gloves. His face softened. "My name is Mr. Peter," he said gently. "Come in. Close the door. You can help me restock, then sit a bit." "Thank you, sir," Jessica said, relief watering her eyes. She blinked quickly so the tears would not fall. A second man stepped out from the back, a younger man with a tight mouth and narrow eyes. He wore a name tag, Victor. He looked at Jessica like she did not belong there. "Who is she?" Victor asked, frowning. "A girl who needs a warm place for a while," Mr. Peter said. "She will help us with the shelves." Victor folded his arms. He did not smile. He watched Jessica like a guard dog. Mr. Peter handed Jessica a small cloth and pointed to a stack of drinks. "Please wipe and arrange these. Slow and neat, no rush." "Yes, sir," Jessica said. She put her bag behind the counter where Mr. Peter showed her. Then she rolled up her sleeves and began to work. She wiped the bottles one by one. She lined them in straight rows. She swept the floor until the dust was gone. The warm air made her fingers come back to life, and the simple work calmed her heart. Mr. Peter kept ringing small sales and nodding at customers. When there was a quiet moment, he brought Jessica a cup of warm water. "Thank you," she whispered. Victor kept watching her from the corner of his eye. When she walked near the counter to get new stock, he stepped closer as if to block her way. He did not speak kindly. He only stared. Jessica kept her head down and did the work. Time moved slowly, but it moved. The shop lights felt like sunshine after a long night. For the first time since the white gate, Jessica's body relaxed just a little. She was still scared, still tired, but now she was inside, and someone had said, "You can stay a while." When the floor was clean and the shelves were neat, Mr. Peter gave her a small nod of thanks. "You did well," he said. "You can sit there for a bit and rest." Jessica sat on a small stool near the storeroom door. She wrapped her arms around herself and took a long, slow breath. She looked at the door and the windows and told herself, "This is safe for now." Victor passed by and muttered something she could not hear. His face was hard, but Mr. Peter gave her a calm look that said, "You are all right here." Jessica let her head rest against the wall. She did not sleep, but she was still. The night outside kept running, but for a short time she did not have to run with it. She sat on the little stool near the storeroom door. After a while, Mr. Peter came and stood beside her with kind eyes. "Tell me your story. What is a young girl like you doing out in the cold?" he said softly. So Jessica told him. She told him about her mother who taught her to be kind and then passed away. She told him about her father who left and never came back. She told him about the job she had just lost, the room that was now locked, and the old man she helped in the cold night. Mr. Peter listened without interrupting. When she finished, he nodded slowly. "You can stay here," he said. "Not just for tonight. Stay a little while until you find your feet. Help me in the shop. We will think of what to do next." Jessica's eyes grew wet. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. Days passed. 1, 2, then 3. Jessica worked neatly and gently. She greeted customers with a small, warm smile. She wiped shelves until they shone. She refilled drinks and stacked biscuits in straight lines. People liked her calm way. Some customers asked for her by name. Mr. Peter noticed. So did Victor. Victor's eyes were sharp and cold. He frowned when customers smiled at Jessica. He frowned when Mr. Peter thanked her. He frowned when the shop looked better each day. Inside his chest, a stone of jealousy grew heavy. On the third evening, the shop was quiet. The air smelled like soap and sweets. Mr. Peter was counting at the counter. Jessica was folding clean cloths near the storeroom. Suddenly, Victor rushed to the till, pulled the cash drawer out and stared inside. His face changed. He looked angry and excited at the same time. "2,000 is missing!" he shouted. "2,000, where is it?" Mr. Peter looked up, calm but alert. "Check again," he said. "It was here," Victor snapped. He swung his eyes to Jessica. "You were near the counter today." Jessica stood still. Her hands were steady, but her heart jumped. "I was wiping the glass, not the till," she said quietly. Victor pointed at her with a hard finger. "Don't pretend. You think because the boss pities you, you can take his money? I'll call the police." Mr. Peter raised his hand. "Victor, not so fast." Victor hissed. "If we don't stop her now, she'll take more. People like this—" "Enough," Mr. Peter said firmer. "We will not accuse without proof." He turned to Jessica. "Did you take any money?" "No, sir," Jessica said, looking straight at him. "I would never." Victor laughed in a bitter way. "Of course she will deny it. They always deny it." Mr. Peter's eyes were calm, but his voice carried weight. "Victor, please wait." He walked to the back office. Jessica heard the small click of a keyboard and the soft sound of a screen waking up. Victor stood with folded arms, still glaring at her. Jessica kept her head up and her hands folded in front of her. She could hear her own heartbeat. After a short moment, Mr. Peter came back, holding a small remote. "We have the front camera," he said, "but sometimes it misses angles." Victor smirked. Maybe the camera was off when she touched the till. Mr. Peter pressed a button. A TV on the wall lit up. The video showed the counter from one angle. He pressed another button. The view changed to a second angle, lower and to the side. "This is the backup camera," Mr. Peter said. Victor's face twitched. The screen showed the time. It was earlier that evening. The shop looked calm. Jessica was wiping shelves far from the counter. Victor walked to the till. He opened it. He looked left and right. Then he slipped 2,000 into his pocket. He closed the drawer, looked around again, and walked away. The room went very quiet. Victor's mouth opened, but no words came out. His face turned pale and then red. I I was checking the balance. Save it, Mr. Peter said, his kind voice now firm as a door. You lied. You tried to blame someone who did nothing wrong. Victor threw a small curse under his breath. He grabbed his bag from under the counter. You'll regret this, he muttered. But his words felt thin in the strong light of the truth. He pushed the door and left. The bell above the door shook and fell quiet. Mr. Peter turned to Jessica. His face softened again. I am sorry, he said. He should not have spoken to you like that, and he should not have accused you. Jessica let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Thank you for checking, sir. Mr. Peter nodded. Truth does not shout, but it stands, he said. You can sleep in the storeroom tonight. The small cot is ready. Lock the door from the inside if you like. Jessica's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you very much. When the shop closed, Mr. Peter gave her a thin blanket and a bottle of water. The storeroom was small and warm. Boxes stood like quiet friends around her. She sat on the cot and held the blanket close. Thank you, she whispered again, unsure if she meant it to Mr. Peter, the hidden camera, or to God who sees in the dark. Her mind drifted to Mr. John. She pictured the white gate and the soft motion light. She pictured his gentle hands around the warm cup and the scarf snug under his chin. I hope you are all right, she said into the quiet room. I hope you slept well. The heater hummed. The dust of harmattan sat still at last. Jessica lay down, and for the first time that day the fear in her chest loosened. Her eyes closed like two tired doors. Outside, the night walked on. Inside, a brave girl rested, held by a small room and a big truth. Morning came softly. The storeroom was quiet and warm. Jessica heard the shop door open as Mr. Peter began his day. She sat up on the small cot and folded the blanket. Her phone buzzed. A gentle voice spoke. Hello, is this Jessica? Yes, she said. This is David, the voice said. I work for Mr. John. I called earlier and you told me where you are. I am outside now. Jessica stood and peeked through the little window. A clean black car waited by the front. It looked calm and serious, like a quiet visitor. She walked out to the shop. Mr. Peter gave her an encouraging nod. Jessica stepped to the door as the car door opened. David came out holding the small receipt with her name and number. His eyes were kind. Good morning, he said. Mr. John wants to see you. He woke up today and remembered everything that happened 3 days ago. He remembers the scarf. He remembers the bike. He remembers you. Jessica felt her heart grow warm. Is he all right? She asked. He is much better, David said with a small smile. He asked me to find you. Jessica looked at Mr. Peter. He nodded again. Go, he said softly. You are safe. Jessica climbed into the car. The seat was soft. The air smelled clean, like pine. She had never sat in a car so quiet. The world outside slipped by like a slow picture. They drove for a while. At last they stopped in front of a big mansion. It was not the same house where she had dropped Mr. John 3 days earlier. This place was larger and calmer, like a deep breath. A guard opened the gate. The car rolled in gently. Inside, the floors were smooth and bright. The air was warm and smelled like tea. David led her to a wide room with soft chairs. Jessica stood by the door, unsure. Then Mr. John walked in with careful steps. He did not look lost now. He looked clear and kind. His eyes were bright and his smile was small but sure. There you are, he said, my brave girl. Jessica felt shy. She folded her hands. Good morning, sir. Mr. John sat down and nodded to a chair. Please sit. I want to thank you properly. Jessica sat. Her back was straight. Her hands were on her knees. Mr. John began to speak in a calm voice. I remember the cold night. I remember your scarf around my neck. I remember your bicycle and how you said, hold on tight. I remember the hot cocoa. I remember how you wrote your name and number on a torn receipt. You helped me when others walked past. Jessica looked down. I only wanted you to be safe. Mr. John nodded. That is why your help is special. You did not ask for anything. You were ready to lose your job and your room, but you still helped. Jessica's eyes grew wet. She blinked and kept quiet. "This is not charity," Mr. John said gently. "This is gratitude. My sources tell me you have nowhere to stay. I want you to stay here for a while. There is a guest room ready for you. Rest, eat, and relax. You do not have to worry about the cold tonight." Jessica's lips trembled. "Sir, I don't want to take advantage." "You are not," he said. "You gave me care when I was weak. Let me give you rest while you find your feet." David brought a cup of warm tea and set it near Jessica. Mr. John smiled again. "You remind me of someone I loved very much," he said. "Someone who believed that kindness is never wasted." Jessica held the warm cup. The heat reached her fingers, then her chest. She took a small sip. "Thank you," she whispered. "You are welcome," Mr. John replied. "Please stay as long as you need. We will talk more after you rest." Jessica stood and followed David down a quiet hall. He opened a door to a clean guest room with a soft bed and a big window. Sunlight lay on the floor like a warm blanket. "This is for me?" she asked, almost afraid to move. "Yes," David said. "Mr. John insisted." Jessica stepped inside. She touched the bedspread with careful fingers. For the first time in many days, she felt truly safe. "Thank you," she said again. David nodded and left her to rest. Jessica sat on the bed, held the warm cup, and closed her eyes for a moment. In her mind, she saw the white gate, the scarf, the tea steam, and her mother's smile. She breathed in. She breathed out. Peace settled like soft dust. That night, Jessica slept like a baby. The bed was soft. The room was quiet. No fear, no dust, just peace. Morning light touched her face. She sat up and smiled without trying. She washed her face, fixed her hair, and stepped out. In the dining room, Mr. John was already there. A warm breakfast waited. Tea, eggs, bread. He looked bright and calm. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning, sir," Jessica replied, shy but happy. They ate a little in quiet. Then Mr. John spoke in a gentle voice. "Jessica," he said, "today I want to give you 3 things: work, a chance to finish school, and a new idea for both of us." Jessica's eyes grew wide. "For me?" "For us," he said. "First, I want you to help me put my affairs in order. Papers, letters, the office, everything that needs care. You will work here." Jessica nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." "Second," he went on, "I want to help you go back to school. You are smart, you are brave, and most of all, you are kind. You should finish your learning. We will plan it." Jessica put a hand to her mouth. "Thank you," she whispered. "Third," Mr. John said, leaning closer, "I want us to start a youth foundation. A small one at first, then bigger. We will help boys and girls who have no roof, who need a bed, who need a kind hand. We will help them learn skills and find jobs. We will give scholarships, job training, tutoring, and safe beds for those in trouble." Jessica felt her heart thump, slow and big. "Sir? Me?" "Yes, you," he said, smiling. "I will handle the money. You will handle the heart. I have seen your heart. It is strong." Jessica blinked fast. "I don't know how to run something like that." "You will learn," he said. "You learned how to be brave on a cold night. You learned how to be kind with your last coins. You will learn this too. I will walk with you." He looked down at his tea, then back at her. His eyes were a little wet. "Jessica," he said softly, "many years ago, I lost my family in a terrible accident. After that, my life felt empty. I became ill. My mind grew cloudy. Some days I forgot where I was. I wandered. That is how I found myself in the street that night. Cold, lost, afraid." Jessica listened with her whole face. "When you put your scarf on me," he said, "when you said, 'Hold on tight,' I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt purpose. Since that night, my mind has been clearer. I believe I met you for a reason. This is the reason. To bring light to others." He took a breath. "Shall we do it together?" Jessica looked at her hands. They shook a little, not from fear, but from big feelings. She thought of her mother's voice. She thought of the white gate and the warm cocoa and the cot in the storeroom. She thought of boys and girls like her, standing outside in the cold, with their bags on their shoulders and no one to open a door. "Yes," she said at last, her voice small but sure. "Let's do it." They both smiled. "What shall we call it?" Mr. John asked. "Something simple, something hopeful." Jessica looked toward the window. Sunlight lay on the table like a soft cloth. "Sunlight Foundation," she said. Mr. John nodded. "Perfect." He took a small notebook and wrote the name. Then he wrote the mission in simple lines. Scholarships for learning, job readiness and skills, tutoring for school help, safe beds for youths in crisis. He closed the notebook and placed his hand on top of it. "We begin today," he said. "Your room is yours for as long as you need. Your work starts in the office after breakfast, and we will plan your school path together." Jessica stood up a little too fast and then laughed at herself. "Thank you," she said, and the thank you was full of tears, joy, and promise. Mr. John stood too. He patted her shoulder, fatherly and kind. "We will do good work," he said, "slow and steady, like your bicycle." Jessica laughed again. The room felt warm and bright. For the first time in a long time, her future did not look like a dark road. It looked like morning. After breakfast, Jessica went to the small office inside the big house. It was quiet and full of papers. Some papers were old and sleepy. Some were new and waiting. She rolled up her sleeves. She made neat piles, letters, bills, notes, plans. She wrote simple labels. She put files in a drawer and made a list of things to fix. She answered polite calls and wrote down names. She placed a small flower on the desk to make the room feel alive. Mr. John came in with a careful smile. "You make this place breathe," he said. Together they began registering documents for Sunlight Foundation. They filled forms. They signed where they should sign. They spoke to kind people who wanted to help. The office felt like a heart that had just started beating. Early donors began to appear. One sent school bags. One sent notebooks. One sent a small box of pencils. Jessica wrote thank you letters in simple words that came from her heart. "Sir," she said one afternoon, "there is a shop owner who helped me when I had no place to sleep. His name is Mr. Peter. He was kind. Maybe we can buy some of our supplies from him." Mr. John's eyes warmed. "Yes," he said. "Kindness should meet kindness. Let's place our first order there." Jessica called the mini-mart. When Mr. Peter heard her voice, he almost laughed from joy. "I am proud of you," he said. "I will prepare the supplies." Soon, the foundation started a small tutoring corner. Children came after school to read and do homework. Jessica sat with them, showed them how to sound out hard words and clapped when they tried. They also set up a skills table where older youths learned simple job skills, how to write a CV, how to speak in an interview, how to be on time and be honest. They found 2 safe beds for youths in sudden trouble. The beds were clean. The sheets smelled like sun. Jessica checked them herself and put small notes by the pillows. "You are safe here." The quiet story of their work began to travel, first in whispers, then in small voices, then in a few lines online. A local writer posted a short article about Jessica's kindness and Mr. John's new purpose. There were 2 photos. One showed Jessica walking with Mr. John, both smiling a little. The other showed Jessica handing notebooks to a shy boy. Many people clapped in the comments. They wrote, "This is good," and "Bless you," and "The world needs this." But not everyone was kind. Some people felt envy. They did not see the cold night, the lost job, the lost room. They only saw a girl in a picture near a rich old man and felt a stone in their hearts. Among those people was Victor. He saw the photo. His jaw went tight. "Her," he said to no one. "Now she is a hero?" He remembered the backup camera. He remembered the truth that showed his lie. The shame burned like pepper in his chest. He looked at the screen again. He did not clap. Back at the foundation, Jessica did not know about Victor's heavy thoughts. She kept sorting mail. She kept writing thank you notes. She kept placing orders with Mr. Peter. She kept listening to Mr. John's steady plans. She kept smiling at children who needed one gentle smile to try again. In the afternoon, she found a quiet moment. stood by the window and whispered, "Thank you, God. We are helping, one small step at a time." The room felt bright, as if the sun itself had nodded. Meanwhile, across town, Victor could not keep still anymore. His envy and anger grew hot. He made a video on his phone. In the video, he spoke hard words. He said Jessica was manipulating Mr. John. He said she was gold digging. He posted it online. Then he posted more comments with the same lies. The lies spread like a small fire on dry grass. People online started to write insults. Some reporters began to call the house. Neighbors whispered when Jessica walked past. The air felt heavy. The phone kept ringing. The doorbell buzzed too often. David came to the office and spoke softly. "Should we make a public statement?" he asked. "We can explain." Mr. John shook his head. His face was calm. "Kindness shouldn't need to defend itself," he said. "We will keep doing the work." Jessica tried to be brave, but her chest felt tight. She turned off her phone and focused on the children, the files, the soft steps of good work. Far away, Mr. Peter saw Victor's video. His face became serious. He remembered the night in the shop. He remembered the backup camera and the truth it held. "This is wrong," he said. He went to his computer. He found the CCTV clip from that night, the one that showed Victor taking the money and then trying to blame Jessica. Mr. Peter uploaded the video online with a few simple words. "Here is the truth. She did not steal, he did." The clip spread quickly. People watched. They saw old customers from the mini-mart wrote comments. "Jessica worked hard. She was polite. I remember her. She helped me carry a bag." This video says it all. Even the manager from Jessica's old delivery job posted a short note. "Jessica missed one delivery because she helped an old man in the cold. I was angry then, but I respect her now." Slowly, the loud lies began to grow quiet. The truth stood up, calm and clear. Some media that first carried the wrong story changed it. They wrote corrections. They said sorry. People who had been unsure now clapped. A few sent donations to Sunlight Foundation saying, "Keep going, do more good." Victor had no choice than to hide in shame. His lies are out in the open for all to see. Jessica read a few messages and put her hand over her heart. She breathed out a long breath she didn't know she was holding. Mr. John called her to the dining room. He looked at her with warm eyes. "I am proud of you," he said. "You did not fight with anger. You stayed with the work. That is strength." Jessica smiled, small and real. "Thank you, sir," she said. "I only want us to help more people." "And we will," Mr. John replied. "The light will not go out." They went back to the office. The children read new words. The phone rang again, but this time it was a kind voice asking how to volunteer. Outside, the sun moved slowly across the sky. Inside, the work moved too, soft, steady, good. The next week, a friendly camera came to the office. A young reporter with kind eyes asked gentle questions. She did not push. She listened. "Why do you do this work?" she asked. Jessica looked at the children reading in the corner. She looked at the soft files on the table. She remembered the cold night in the white gate. Then she spoke from her heart. "Kindness is strength, not weakness," she said. "When we help one person, the world becomes a little brighter." The reporter smiled. Later that evening, a short TV feature showed Sunlight Foundation, children reading, youth learning skills, 2 simple safe beds made with care. People at home watched and nodded. Soon after, an official invitation arrived. A community leadership event asked Mr. John and Jessica to come and share their story. The hall was big and full of faces. Jessica's hands shook a little at first. Mr. John touched her shoulder and whispered, "Just tell the truth." Jessica stepped to the small microphone. She looked out at the listening eyes. "Good evening," she began, her voice soft but sure. "We started with a bicycle, a scarf, and a cup of hot cocoa. We kept going because kindness asked us to. If you have 2 hands, you can help. If you have 1 smile, you can share it. If you have a little, you can still give." The hall grew quiet in a warm way. Heads nodded, some eyes shone. From that day, Sunlight Foundation began to grow. 1 small center became 3 over time. A study corner where children read and did homework with patient tutors. A skills room where older youth learned to write CVs, speak for interviews, and practice simple trades. A set of safe beds for those in sudden trouble, clean sheets, soft pillows, and a note by each bed. You are safe here. Jessica became the face of the work, calm, steady, and believable. She spoke gently to volunteers. She thanked donors with simple, honest words. She sat on the floor with little ones to read picture books. She stood tall with teenagers and said, "You can do this." And she went back to school. Each morning she studied. Each afternoon she returned to the foundation. Mr. John helped with fees and quiet guidance. David drove her when classes ran late and made sure she ate before meetings. Some nights were hard, but Jessica kept a steady rhythm. Learn, serve, rest, repeat. When exams came, she carried a small memory in her pocket, a folded copy of the word sunlight. She touched it before each test and whispered, "Do your best." The centers kept buzzing with life. Laughter rose in small bursts. New volunteers arrived with open hands. Donations came in careful drops. Sunlight grew like a slow morning, soft at first, then clear. One evening, after a long day, Jessica found Mr. John sitting by a window, watching the sky turn gold. He looked peaceful. "You spoke well today," he said. "I was scared," she admitted. "Courage is not the absence of fear," he replied with a smile. "It is the choice to speak anyway." Jessica sat beside him. They watched the last light settle on the trees. The house felt gentle around them. Time moved like a gentle river. The centers grew. The children laughed. The youths tried and tried again, but Mr. John began to slow down. Some days he walked with a stick. Some days he sat by the big window and watched the sky. His favorite place became the greenhouse, warm, quiet, full of soft green leaves. He liked to touch the plants and close his eyes. Often he hummed a lullaby, the same soft tune Jessica first heard on the bicycle that cold night. Jessica sat with him there. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they were silent. The silence was not empty. It was kind. One calm afternoon, Mr. John held her hand. His fingers were thinner now, but his eyes were bright. "Jessica," he said softly, "promise me something." "Yes, sir," she replied. "Keep the light burning," he said, "when I am here and when I am gone. Let no rumor, no wind, no night put it out." Jessica's eyes filled. "I promise." He smiled, small and sure. Then he hummed the lullaby again. The plants seemed to listen. Days passed. One night the house was very quiet. A soft moon lay on the floor like milk. In the morning David knocked on Mr. John's door and went in. Mr. John had died in his sleep, peaceful, gentle, as if he had walked into a bright room and sat down to rest. In his hands he still held the thin blanket Jessica once gave him on the cold night. The house breathed out a long, sad sigh. They planned a funeral simple and honest. People came. Beneficiaries who had slept in safe beds, partners who had given notebooks and time, friends who had shared tea and plans. There were wet eyes and quiet prayers. There were soft smiles for a good man. Jessica stood to speak. Her hands did not shake now. The promise sat warm in her chest. "Once," she began, "I found an old man alone in the cold. I thought I was helping him home, but he also helped me home to purpose, to hope, to a bigger family." She looked at the faces before her. "Family is who walks you home in the dark," she said, voice clear and gentle. "Family is who gives you hope when you are hopeless. Mr. John did that for me and for many. We will keep doing it for others." A soft silence fell like a blanket. Then a gentle wave of claps rose, respectful, kind. When it ended, Jessica stepped down. She touched the corner of her eye and smiled at the photo of Mr. John, his quiet eyes, his small, steady smile. Outside, the sky held a pale light. Inside, the promise held a strong one. 3 days after the funeral, the house was quiet. Morning light stood softly on the floor. David knocked on Jessica's door and stepped in with gentle steps. In his hand was a sealed letter. "This is from Mr. John," he said. "He asked me to give it to you." Jessica took the letter with both hands. Her fingers shook a little. She broke the seal and read, "My dear Jessica, thank you for giving me back my best years. You reminded me that goodness still lives in this world. I have left my house affairs in order. I entrust the Sunlight Foundation to your leadership. Lead with truth. Lead with care. Remember, real wealth is what we share. With love, Mr. John." Jessica pressed the letter to her chest and closed her eyes. A warm ache filled her. She whispered, "Thank you." Not just for the paper in her hands, but for the life he lived and the light he left. "I will make you proud," she said softly. "I will help as many people as I can." David nodded. "We are with you," he said. Jessica began to lead with a steady heart. She tightened governance, clear records, honest reports, open books. She set simple rules and kept them. She expanded scholarships, reaching more students who needed fees, uniforms, and books. She started mentorship pairs, older helpers walking beside younger ones, listening, guiding, cheering them on. She opened safe housing for youths aging out of orphanages, small rooms with clean beds and a kitchen where they could learn to cook and share meals. At the same time, she helped start a gentle care home for aging people who were alone, warm rooms, soft songs, kind hands. In every place, a small card sat on the wall. Kindness is strength, not weakness. Jessica spoke to volunteers with calm words. She thanked donors with simple letters that told true stories. She visited each center often, sat on the floors, smiled at shy faces, and said, "You matter. Keep going." One evening, the TV showed a short update about Sunlight Foundation: new beds, new books, new hands at work. In a small shop, Mr. Peter stood behind his counter and watched. His eyes shone. "That's my girl," he said softly, proud and happy. "Look at her go." He turned the TV a little louder, then laughed and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Back at the office, Jessica hung Mr. John's letter in a simple frame above her desk. Whenever she felt tired, she looked up and read the line again. "Real wealth is what we share." She took a breath, smiled, and kept working. 10 years passed like pages turning in a gentle book. The centers were full of life. On the anniversary day, the courtyard was bright. Children laughed, chasing each other around a small tree. Volunteers carried boxes of books. A little band tuned their drums and flutes. The evening air felt soft and kind. A reporter held a small microphone and smiled at Jessica. "How did all this begin?" she asked. Jessica looked around at the children, at the safe beds, at the study tables, at the old photo of Mr. John on the wall. She felt the promise in her chest, the same promise she had made in the greenhouse. It began with a bus stop, a lost man, and a choice, she said. Her voice was calm and warm. "I chose to help, and that one choice changed my life and many others." Later, as the sun slid down and lights clicked on, Jessica and David walked to the entrance. They stood by a simple white gate with a clean sign, "Sunlight Foundation, Hope for the Hopeless." The evening lights glowed like quiet stars. The far hum of the city rolled by, cars, voices, life moving forward. But in Jessica's ears, compassion sounded louder. She walked to a small rose bush by the gate. The petals were pink and brave. She bent her head and whispered, "Thank you, Mr. John." For a moment, the night felt like a soft hand on her shoulder. She stood up, took a slow breath, and turned back toward the courtyard, toward the noise of happy children, toward the lists on her desk, toward the next person who would knock and say, "Please, can you help me?" Jessica smiled, because in life, one act of kindness can outlast the noise, and so she went back to work.